that is probably hands down the scariest part about working on a ship. The scariest. Hey, what's up guys? I hope everybody's having a great Labor Day weekend. My name is Jay Alexander and welcome to another Sunday edition of Ship Life Stories, where I tell you guys all about crazy, wild, and even scary adventures that happened to me while I was working aboard cruise ships as a crew member. So, in light of the hurricane possibly headed toward my state, which is the state of Florida by the way, headed toward us right now, I thought I'd share a little story with you guys about what it's like being on a cruise ship during a hurricane. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I'll be straight up with you. When I say that, obviously with today's technology and everything that's going on with cruise ships and stuff now, we have enough technology to technically avoid a hurricane. However, when I say being on a ship during a hurricane, I mean we still had to avoid it. There was one in the area and we had to make an emergency recourse basically to head back to our home port, which was New York City, while we were heading to Bermuda. Now, if you guys don't know, most of the time, actually I think every time for a fact, hurricanes typically form in the Atlantic Ocean. And for the most part, that was where my itinerary was. My ship sailed from New York City down to the Bahamas, the Caribbean, and over to Bermuda. So we were all over the Atlantic Ocean because, that's where our ship went, And it was okay sometimes, but there were a lot of times, especially during hurricane season, where we had to deal with situations such as the ones that I'm about to talk with you guys about today. So hurricanes, obviously, I think in my opinion, they get a little overhyped sometimes. Now, don't get me wrong, hurricanes are scary, but I think they had a movie that actually just came out with a hurricane and alligators or something like that. I don't know, but I didn't watch it. But I think because of that, and from people that aren't from, let's say, Florida, things get a little overhyped, all right? Now, I don't want to get off subject, but I just want people to understand that hurricanes, yes, they are very, very dangerous, okay? But it's not a tornado. It's not going to start ripping up houses and whatnot. You know what I mean? If you're, let's say, on an island, for example, like Bermuda, like somewhere in the Caribbean, something like that, St. Lucia or something like that, there's no need to overreact. I think I remember, what is that, Irma? When everybody was leaving and evacuating out of the state just for a Category 1 hurricane, which is basically a tropical storm for people to come all the way back home. But anyway, guys, just getting on to the subject. So when it comes down to storms and cruise ships, it can be a very dangerous thing. So I think when I was on the ship, we had 2 or 3 instances where we had to change course in order to avoid a hurricane or a tropical storm. Now, there were times where obviously, we can't completely avoid and miss these hurricanes when we find out about them. So we end up getting caught up in the storm. And it's not fun, to be honest with you. I don't know how many times we be on what we call rocky seas, where pretty much the ship is just rocking. And now given, I was on the Norwegian Escape, which is the 5th largest ship in the world, I believe. I think that's changed since. But it was still scary. A ship of that size, of that magnitude, rocking the way it did was a very unreal experience. In days like that, it can be difficult just being a crew member because, again, I've mentioned in my other videos, when you're on a cruise, when you're on vacation, typically you're obligated to kind of, create this perfect world, this utopic society for the people on vacation, the passengers, and that can be a little difficult when the ship is rocking back and forth. I mean, we typically have our sea legs for the most part because we're on the ship day in and day out for months at a time. But however, it can be a little difficult. But I think the craziest part about it is watching the passengers. That gets me. I don't know how many times I've seen a passenger just eat it, just fall on the ground and just basically die, because they can't handle walking on the ship during a storm. And I think I was eating at our buffet we had on my ship one day, and there were 2 passengers one day. They couldn't handle how rocky the ship was, and I was eating, I kid you not, they were maybe, I think, like 10 feet away from me, and they ran to the sink and just started vomiting all over the place. And I hate to be vulgar, but I have to tell somebody about this. They just started throwing up right then and there, and what made it even worse is that they were just so out of it, they didn't even bother to clean what was the residue left. They didn't clean it up at all. They just literally just took their hand, for balance, put it on the stuff and walked away. And I was done with my meal after that. But also, just when stuff like that happens, a lot of things that get canceled. Like my show, for example, they tried to push my show, which was honestly, I think, not a good idea. Somebody got hurt that day, and but basically, cruise lines will try to run things as normal because again, they want to keep up this idea of a utopic world, a perfect world. But it still is a scary thing. Typically, what I would do when we are encountering like a hurricane or just rocky seas during a storm, usually I just kind of chill in my room. That's time to watch some. At the time, I was watching Game of Thrones and just chilling and hanging out. But again, it's a scary thing. So if you guys, just for the passengers, people who are, let's say, crew members, for example, just be careful. Know your limitations. Don't let a manager or somebody push you over the edge to where you got to work if you don't feel safe. Same with passengers. If you're going on a cruise, make sure you check and see the weather conditions. You never know when a hurricane will pop up. Now, given it's not like a tornado, but you get some kind of warning, but you never quite know. But just my advice for anybody that's dealing with a storm out at sea, it can be difficult, it can be scary at times, but know that typically everything's gonna be okay. I think we had one instance where my ship actually, it was like middle of the night too. We not flipped over, but I think it was like 30 degrees. We tilted over. That was scary. And I was at the crew bar, I was turning up. I was doing my thing, having a good time, and that was a scary moment. That wasn't a hurricane, it was a tropical storm, but still. But just word of advice for anybody that's going to be out on a ship or traveling like that, out at sea in the middle of a storm, just stay in your room and just chill out because it'll make it a lot easier for everybody. Anyway, guys, I just want to talk about this in light of the hurricane coming up. Hurricane, Dorian? Hopefully it doesn't, fingers crossed. They say right now it's projected to not make land. It's supposed to curve around or something like that. I'm keeping track of it, and no, I'm not evacuating because I live in Tampa Bay, but however, I'm a little bit more inland, and where I'm from is technically a no-flood zone. I live in an apartment that's like 2 stories up until I move next week, that is. But anyway, guys, I just wanted to tell this quick story and just talk about in general just what it's like pretty much being on a ship. Just for Sunday, just want to put something out there for you guys. Anyway, if you guys are in Florida, make sure you guys stay safe. If you're on a ship, make sure you guys stay safe. And you guys enjoy your Labor Day, whatever you can make out of it. Until Friday, I guess, I'll see you guys later. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, hit me up. Also hit me up on my Instagram or hit me up on my email. Until next week, you guys take it easy.